All right, in this video, we're gonna talk about one of the many mental battles in injury recovery, and specifically in this one, we're gonna talk about overcoming unexpected setbacks. So if you've ever been dealing with an injury or chronic pain and you're just kind of cruising along, making great progress, and then boom, your body just slams on the brakes or even takes 5 steps back, whether it's post-op or you're just out of surgery or dealing with non-surgical injuries, even just dealing with chronic pain and having flare-ups, this can be extremely frustrating, and we've lived that firsthand.
You're driving along, la-li-la, woo, and then all of a sudden there's a truck tire in the middle of the road, and you hit the brakes. Whoa, that was close.
But in general, and unfortunately, these sorts of setbacks are not uncommon. Recovery really isn't usually a straight line. It's not linear. It's more like a roller coaster that you really did not sign up for.
Oh, that blows. That blows.
One big misstep or mistake that people generally make throughout the injury rehab process or dealing with chronic pain is that thinking that setbacks mean failure, or that these setbacks mean that you're way off track now. They don't, and you're not. Setbacks really are just a part of the process, unfortunately, and if you go in expecting them instead of getting blindsided by them, they really lose a lot of their power over you mentally. So sure, we all want to go through the injury rehab process, have it be perfectly linear, and just get back to doing what you enjoy, which certainly can happen, obviously. These setbacks are not a guarantee, but in reality, expecting a few bumps and bruises along the way is a great way to approach the process and really not let it overwhelm you if something does come up. Having these sorts of expectations really can isolate you from a lot of the mental anguish that comes throughout the process.
And all this time I've been going through such pain and personal anguish. Such hell for nothing!
So let's talk about why setbacks happen and why can't injury recovery just be a steady climb and be perfectly linear? Well, your body is constantly working behind the scenes, healing things, rebuilding strength, managing inflammation, and some days everything clicks. Other days, your knees, shoulders, back feel like they're actively plotting against you. So when you hit that bump in the road, it's not necessarily a sign that you're back to square one. It's really just a part of the natural healing process.
Now this is gonna hurt a little bit.
Huh?
I say this is gonna hurt a little bit.
Okay. Oh!
So looking at how to reframe setbacks is a huge piece about how to deal with these unexpected setbacks. So what is the secret here? Really, it's how you look at these different scenarios and how you reframe them. And in the scenario that Jocko Willink usually talks about, it's oh, something went wrong? Good. Or there's a setback or a problem occurred?
Good. Good.
Now that's probably an intense way to look at it, but really the point is that there's other ways to look at things, and it could be a teaching moment, growth moment, become more resilient. Obviously this is much easier said than done, especially when you're in pain. But the point is try to look at it from a different perspective and say, maybe this isn't horrible. Maybe there is some good that could come of this. Really, it's about reframing it and how to look at different things from a different perspective. And again, much easier said than done to reframe, but extremely beneficial if you're able to put it into practice.
You don't seem alarmed.
Would it help?
So instead of looking at setbacks as I'm failing, or more commonly in injury recovery and chronic pain, I'm really falling behind here, really just try to think of it as it's just part of the process, just a normal part of the natural healing process. I mean, it's not a race, and everyone heals at different paces. Although I'm sure all of us wish we were Adrian Peterson, tear your ACL and MCL and almost set the rushing record less than 8 months later. But for most of us, the road isn't quite that smooth. It's more like a back road filled with potholes, roadblocks, and it's not about avoiding those potholes and roadblocks. It's about knowing when to keep going and how to keep going when they inevitably show up. And who are the people that make the best recoveries and have the best outcomes? A lot of studies show that it's people that had that expectation going in, that expected setbacks and plan for them. So to allow that flexibility and to not allow themselves to get overwhelmed by them. So one actionable thing to try as you reframe your situation is to try and create a setback plan. Now that might sound kind of doom and gloom, like you're planning for a rainy day, because it kind of is. And usually that's a pretty smart thing to do because these setbacks really are not uncommon, unfortunately. So instead of waiting for that frustration or to feel overwhelmed, you can grab a pen and jot down a game plan for when those tough days do roll in, or just have a general overall game plan in your head. And here's a few ways you can start to do that. So number one, adjust your routine. Really try to keep your recovery schedule flexible and not make it too rigid. So on rough days, maybe dial it back a little bit with the intensity or do some gentler exercises. Just generally try to bake in that flexibility into your recovery schedule. One great example of that is for the numerous hip surgeries that I had, they always said you'd be on crutches for about 6 weeks. A great way to keep that recovery schedule flexible is to plan to have to be on them for 8. If you're an overachiever and you get off crutches at 4 weeks, sweet. If you need to be on them a little bit longer, even to the 8 to the 10 week mark, no big deal because you planned for it. And because you kind of stayed flexible, you have that expectation that you might have had to be on them a little bit longer. So then it's not overwhelming and it's within your control and you can deal with it much easier. So having a plan in place doesn't mean you're expecting to fail. It just means you're planning to handle these unexpected twists and turns, and you know what to do when that frustration hits, and you'll have a lot more feeling of control. You'll be ready to adjust, regroup, and keep moving forward. Another great tool is reaching out for support. So whether it's a friend or family member or even just an online community, having someone to chat with can really make a world of difference. I've been there, they've been extremely helpful. Connecting with people that have similar injuries can give a lot of insight about what to expect and really bring a lot of peace of mind to that situation. And lastly, another great tool is just to take a mental break. Sometimes you just need to take a step back, give your mind a little bit of a breather. It's not about giving up or anything like that. It's about recharging your batteries without guilt.
Can you have a 5 over there? Will you take a 5, Dennis? Take a 5, please.
And another key takeaway is that setbacks are really just part of the journey, unfortunately. They're not guaranteed, but at the end of the day, they're very common, and recovery generally isn't usually linear. And that's totally fine, and that's the reality of recovery sometimes. So to expect setbacks, plan for them, and to remember that a rough day or a rough patch is just one chapter of the overall story and not the whole book of your journey. So if certain days feel like massive setbacks, or if you're going through prolonged rough patches, just remind yourself that it's temporary, and it's a temporary dip in an otherwise winding road and winding path to recovery. And if you don't have any of these setbacks, that's awesome, even better. So the next time you hit a rough patch, so instead of beating yourself up, try to give yourself a nod or a pat on the back and just appreciate the wild journey and that you're growing through adversity.
Because tomorrow the sun will rise. Who knows what the tide could bring?
Because really, after all, recovery is filled with a lot of surprises, and even sometimes the unexpected detours are the ones that teach us the most about resilience and strength. Through those unexpected setbacks, there might be a lot of unexpected positive things or a lot of good things that happen along the way that you might not have expected as well. So drop in the comments if there was anything specific that helped you along the way, or if there's anything you might try differently next time you hit a rough patch. And as always, if this was helpful, please hit the subscribe button below, and we'll see you in the next video.